Kelly Catallo has serviced the greater Boston area for the past probably more than 28 years. But bio may be a little bit outdated, but Kelly is known for her passion, integrity, and creative problem solving skills. Kelly has been the president and CEO of Cosmopolitan Real Estate Incorporated since 2009, and we're going to be learning a little bit more about Kelly's real estate journey. So, Kelly, thanks for joining today. I'm curious, do you remember what inspired you to get into real estate?
Well, that's an interesting story. So I've been in real estate 32 years. It was 1992. It was never a plan. So anybody that is of that age that can think back to 1992, where, nobody had a job. My twins were 2 years old. I had a part-time job, but there was no money. They were selling houses and ballrooms. It was like hundreds and hundreds of houses. And I was trying to figure out, how can I buy a house for my family? And a friend saw a sign that said School of Real Estate, and she says, "Why don't we go take a class?" Okay, it was something to do. So we took the class, and it was in a real estate office. And then lo and behold, they called us up and they offered me a job. And that was a big deal in 1992. So I says, "Okay, well, I can only work Sundays from 1 to 3, Monday and Tuesday from 6 to 8. And whereas some other brokers who had called me when I gave them my guidelines, they were like, "You're never going to earn any money." Well, I didn't have a choice. My twins were 2 years old. I worked another job part-time Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday. And I was time blocking before I knew it was a thing.
I love that. So, what company did you join initially?
So originally I went to work at Bremis Real Estate. I was there for 3 years. When I got there, the first house I ever sold, I had a very determined buyer. We went to an auction. The city was about to level the house. There was animal feces. It was like to show the house. It was Banco, and we had to show up with a crowbar. And there were people living in the house. Every time the bank sent somebody to talk to them, they spoke a different dialect. So finally, they were just like, they'd had it, and they had an auction. And so my buyer, a few real estate brokers were the only people that were there bidding, and the bidding started at $1,000 for a three-family in East Somerville. At the end of the story, my person won the house for $8,000. And then my mentor, she wanted her half.
Oh,
Out of my
wow.
$160 commission, I got $80.
Oh my goodness. How did you get connected to that buyer? How'd you meet
In
them?
those days, I had a pager. They'd have to call the office and leave a message. We didn't even have cell phones. The only people that had cell phones, they were millionaires.
Yeah. So then how did you go from working for that company to now owning your own company? Can you tell me a little bit about that journey?
Yeah. So about 3 years later, I had developed an amazing business because I always say moms are the most organized people
Hmm.
because you are required to do things on demand, and
Hmm.
your little clients don't want to hear, "I don't have time." They don't want to hear that you're disorganized. But, I wanted things in life, and I wanted a great life for my children. And at the end of 3 years, I had more business going than anybody that didn't have the family name. Okay. And so from there, I moved on to ERA Andrew. I was there for 5 years. He was one of the original brokers that told me that I would never make any money in real estate. Things changed. I did very well there. And then Remax showed up in our area. And I left because it was just a money thing. I had tons of inventory, and I wanted to develop my business the best that I could, and I had a thriving business at that point. So I left there. I went to Remax. I was with the Remax system for probably about 10 years. And at the end of a very nasty divorce, it was 2007, 2008. I was losing a listing, an apartment building listing, and had been doing quite a bit of commercial at that time. And I lost it to the rental agent. And I said to the guy, "No, no, 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 this is what I do." And he said to me, "Well, he knows all those people. He put them in there. So just go drop them off the keys." So I did. And while I was there, this person who had a string of 6 rental offices had offered me an opportunity to come into one of the vacant offices, grow a business, and, you know, um, do that. And I says to him, and by this point, by the way, I went from selling 42 houses a year to selling 7 houses in 2008. And I says to him, I don't do rentals. He's like, well, right now nobody's doing anything. He says, open to possibilities. And he made me an incredible deal. So I went in there and that's what I did. And inside of 4 months, I'm a systems person. I created a system. He taught me somewhat about the business and, I started plugging the people in. And so within 4 months, I had that office making more money than any of the offices except for the one in Boston.
Mm.
And unfortunately, 6 months later, he had a massive heart attack and he died.
Goodness.
So now the wife is grabbing at all the offices. She's not in the business. I've got my own 3 children to worry about. And somebody had said to me, the name of that company was Greater Metropolitan. And a very close friend said, yeah, well, you better take what you built and go open your own before it's gone. And he says, why don't you go open Greater Cosmopolitan? I says, well, we dropped the Greater. We opened Cosmopolitan Real Estate. And that is where the name came from. He says, because when I think cosmopolitan, I think of you. It's a cosmopolitan way of living. I says, okay. So we opened the office. And at that point in 2009, I had this person I had worked for was extremely well known. And a lot of people were calling me, offering me office space, offering me office furniture. They looked at me as being the person that did their real estate business. So all those calls were coming in. So, there I was, 2,000 square feet, but, it was a good price. And we brought in about 25 agents that we hired and we blew up the rental market. We did 350 rentals in a year. And then from there, I wanted to take that and go back to the sales business, but still hold on to that business and those clients. And we were the only real full-fledged office doing everything in our city. So I started adding in the sales business. And that was wanting to grow that sales business was part of why I bought the Realty One Group franchise. There's many reasons why I bought that brand, but it was part of the journey of wanting to franchise was being able to put an umbrella around everything that would work for everything. And so
That's wonderful.
we're still here.
So 25 agents to start, that's a lot. That's a rare story where someone opens a company and has that many. Today, what does it look like? Do you still have 25 or
No,
what does
so that was in the rental business, right? So rentals they're easy hits, right? I would build the landlord relationships. We would use You Got Listings. Okay. So I was their 6th customer to sign on way back when. So we would put everything in there and that was like our internal MLS. All of the agents would advertise everything. And before that, it was just like a room full of monkeys. Everybody was typing all the same ads into Craigslist. And it was, how do you beat Craigslist? And you had to show up there like 6 or 7 times a day in order to be at the top of the list. And in those days, the rental market, they didn't have exclusive contracts. The only person getting paid was the agents that rented it, right? So we needed to create such a system that we could have mass ads up there. So the more agents that we had that were willing to run those ads and answer the phones and do all that stuff there, the better. In hiring rental agents, that's easy. You know what I mean? It's this, and it's a different, in those days, it was different than having a sales agent. A sales agent, you really need somebody that understands relationships. The rentals, if you understand relationships, you will grow a great sales business from those rentals. However, the rentals, it's like posting an ad. They call you, they want it, you show it, you write it, you're done. You know what I mean? Very different. So right now we scaled down before, when I took on the franchise, we scaled down because not everybody was going to fit into that franchise model. And they also weren't going to fit into what I was looking for the future. So now we're at 9.
Okay. And those are 9 sales agents.
9 agents. One of them is my son, Anthony, who 10 years ago after college, I'm just going to get a real estate license until I figure out what I want to do. 10 years ago. So he also runs the rental business and he works on my team with me. So in addition to the company, I also have my own team and we do our business.
Okay. And so is it you and your son in the team or do you have other agents in your team?
So it's me, my son, and then an administrative assistant.
Okay. And what about transaction coordination? Do you have a transaction coordinator who manages that for
My
you?
administrative assistant, she does the
Oh,
transaction
wow.
coordinating.
Okay, that's great. Off the top of your head, do you know about how many, how much volume you do on average each year, or how many listings or buyer transactions you do each year?
I didn't know you were going to ask that question. No, we are extremely busy. I can't give you those numbers right now.
What about, would you be open to sharing today, where do you get the majority of business from? Is it a mixture of referral, past clients, internet leads? What does that look like?
98% of my business is by referral.
Mm,
So those tenants turn into buyers.
mm,
Those landlords, either they love being a landlord, they buy more, or they realize, oh, this isn't so easy, and then they become a
mhm,
seller.
mm.
Um, I am extremely involved in my city. We just had a big campaign to stop the transfer tax, and I was the person leading that. Very involved in the Kiwanis Club. I've been a member for 26 years, 27 years.
What is a
Um,
Qantas Club?
I was very involved in my kids' school. I was president
Mm,
of the Mothers Club. If you get involved in your community and you
mhm,
show people what you can do
mhm.
before they need you to sell their house, it easily comes back to you.
And pardon if I should know this, but what is the Kiwanis Club? I've never heard of that.
Oh, so the Kiwanis Club is like the Rotary, that they're a service club.
Okay.
So, but the Kiwanis is all focused about children. So we
Oh.
raise and donate $50,000 a year. I am the chairperson of fundraising for 10 years running. Big surprise. So they know I know how to make money. They know I know how to manage a project. They know I know how to advertise. Oh, by the way, you want to buy or sell a house?
Right. There you go. So, what technology does your company use to support your business? Whether like CRM, website, other technologies.
Okay. So the CRM, which we love, is Follow Up Boss. So I will tell you that system, I even try to talk the Greater Boston Association of Realtors into getting that system as a member benefit. So, especially with the rentals, there's a lot of like phone calls that come in where sometimes people aren't happy with the criteria, that we're seeking for, and fight, fight, fight. They just call MCAD, which is Mass Commission Against Discrimination. They just want to go file charges. So, I will tell you a great process where a Follow Up Boss saved us was they sent testers out through Suffolk Housing's program. And the report came out that the testers said that they called us this day, this day, and this day. I says, no, they didn't. They didn't call until this day. When you call me at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm not answering the phone,
Mm.
right? Then they said, well, I sent a text and he didn't reply to me. Sure, he did. You sent a text and then he called you at exactly this time and you didn't answer the phone, right? So, Follow Up Boss, that is that's my lawyer. That is my evidence, right? Like we have all of that.
Mhm.
So the way that me and Anthony work together, it's very intricate and it's very involved. We actually just grew out of one C and grew it into three because it's just getting too confusing. Okay. But I can see everything. He can see everything. If a conversation, he needs me to jump in, I can jump into that conversation and the other side doesn't even know. They think it's all one person.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, you're both helping each other out when one person's not available.
Right. You know what I like too is I think as humans today, we don't really want to have conversations. We just want the information. So I can go look up something without him having to tell me. The task list, right? So I will tell you, if you have any pull, the one thing I would love is I would love my task list to show up on my app. I
Like
really
on your
would.
calendar?
No, that the task list. So you know how like on the app you can hit people, deals, whatever? I want a button that says tasks for today because sometimes I'm sitting somewhere and it's just easy to do it there. But everything else, like I need a phone number, I just hit there. I don't think any of us know phone numbers anymore. We know names,
Mm-mm.
right? So I can do that. The deal cards, that is really important to us because number one, we're doing a lot of different things,
Mhm.
right? So we have a deal flow for rentals. We have a deal flow for buyers. We have a deal flow for sellers, like a pipeline flow. Then we've got a recruiting pipeline because I'm recruiting for this company, right? Um, but then, like we use the bulk emailing. Okay. So being able to bulk email out to all the agents that are doing business in my city, it's very easy to do that using Follow Up Boss. I don't think bulk email with the buyers and the sellers is such a great idea anymore because I think they know it. I think you're going to be a little bit more personalized,
Mhm.
but I can also write a personalized looking template email and then I can just go to each record and hit the template,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they think I wrote it just for them. So that makes it easy. The calendar is huge. Being
Mhm.
able to have all our calendars integrated. I no longer ask when somebody's mortgage thing is due, I can see it. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? I can see all that. Being able to go back through the communication, right? And being able to see all the emails in one spot is huge.
Yeah. I love that. How did you find Follow Boss?
And I find Follow Up Boss. That's a great question. Sometimes people come into your life for a reason. I don't remember. I don't remember. So, like with You Got Listings, the rentals were able to run through there, but not the sales business, right? The communication was not able to run through there. So, if there was a problem and an agent left, I didn't have access to any of that communication anymore. But what I do love about it is I've got the photos, I've got the landlord info, I've got all that stuff in there. But Follow Up Boss makes it easy that stuff auto imports in. You know what I mean? We don't even really go to the back end of You Got Listings to see the client info anymore unless we think we missed something. We might do that. Like I like systems and check measures, so we're still always checking the email addresses that feed into Follow Up Boss. We're still checking, the sources where those leads come from. How did I find Follow Up Boss? Oh, lab coat agents, Tristan.
Yes.
That is how I found Follow Up Boss. Wow.
That's great.
Yeah, I
So,
want to say I joined Lab Coat Agents when they were trying to get to like maybe 8,000 agents. And look at how big they are now.
I know, way beyond that now.
It's a great resource though.
It is.
Yeah.
So you use Follow Boss as your CRM. What other technologies do you use to support your business?
Okay. So we use Follow Up Boss. We use so the website. So we have a great website from Realty One Group. So it is proprietary to them.
Hmm.
But what I do is we have a Squarespace site. So I'm really tired of switching companies back and forth, with who's going to be our website provider.
Hmm.
Because I write a lot of content and it's
Hmm.
good stuff. And I hate redoing things. So we just
Right.
started we built a Squarespace site and now we're plugging everybody else into the back of it. So maybe there's something from that website that I like that I put in there. Then I like using Rail Scout. I love Rail Scout.
Mm-hmm.
And so we use that, you want to buy a home, search for a home here. And when they click on that button, it's actually the Rail Scout website that they're going into because it's got that AI intuitivity on the back of it that if they don't come back to the website, it sends them an email that really looks like I wrote that email.
Hmm.
That is also plugged into my Follow Up Boss, so I can just
Hmm.
click that button to be able to see what they're looking at. I don't have to go log into Rail Scout to do it. We actually use Anthony and I will use a team website for Rail Scout, so all the buyers are on that one thing. And since you planted all the pixels, it all talks together.
Yeah, I love the ecosystem. Do you use their seller tools, like the home valuation report?
So the seller tools, they just changed things, right? The other day, like they just created this new system.
Mm-hmm.
But the seller tools that we do use is we would do the market updates. So I have some sellers that it's a family and they don't all see eye to eye and they don't even want to see what the market says.
Mhm.
So we've had the contract signed for a month, but we're not coming to market for another month. So it's been kind of invaluable that I set them all up for the market update, and they're
Mhm.
just getting it in their email, and they think it's, oh great, I get to see what's coming on the market. Well, it took a few weeks for it to start clicking that the market and you are speaking two different languages.
Mhm.
Like we're not even in the same ballpark yet. So the good thing is helping them understand. People like to think that they always know more than somebody else. Like your sellers always think that they know more than you, the agent, right? The only
Mhm.
reason why you know more is because you're analyzing data all day long. You're
Mhm.
analyzing housing data, right? So if instead of telling your client something, you can show them the data and let them go analyze it themselves. I never tell a seller what to list at. I always tell them, I advise you decide.
Mm.
But this is what my advice is based on. And for them to be able to get those emails on Rail Scout and be able to see that. When I go on a listing appointment, I'll use the heat maps, okay, which show this is how many buyers are in our city right now. I love that Rail Scout has so many agents in our area. So, like in the greater Boston area, it's a big deal to be able to offer that to your agents. And a lot of the agents, they really like it for a lot of the same reasons that I'm telling you. But what I like even more is that when I go into Follow Up Boss, I can see how many times that seller has gone and they've looked. You know what I mean? I've got another seller that they're not flippers, but they're doing a flip. And so now this house that was supposed to come on the market in May, we're in August, it might be on in September, but she's getting those emails of everything coming on the market. So she's an intelligent human being, right? Most of us are. And so when we have that conversation on price, and I say, so what do you think? If you've got all the data in front of you, Elena, and somebody says to you, what do you think? Don't you sound like an idiot if you want to overprice it at $300,000,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But you've got it all. It's huge. It's
So
a
you use
winner.
follow. You
It's a
use
game
follow.
changer.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I'm a big fan of Real Scout as well. So going back to using Follow Up Boss, do you remember how you and I originally got connected? How did we meet each other?
Okay, in case you didn't figure, this is a people person. I am not a tech person. So my biggest fear on buying any product is the setup that needs to go into it, right? This is real estate. Rip off and duplicate, it works, right? What works in one market is going to go work in another market. All right. There's no big secret there. And I was in the Follow Up Boss group, the text group on Facebook there. And I put up a post. I know that this product will work for my business because I've done all the research, right? But I need somebody else that can go in there and plug up all this stuff, right? So, like, I'm going to be honest with you. I've looked at open and close a few times. And if somebody else would say, let's jump on a Zoom, you tell me your process and your thing and how this all goes, and we'll just go build it for you, I'd probably use that product. But if I have to be the person that goes and does all that, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So, like right now, my coach has me on this whole recruiting thing. Well, I'm not doing the recruiting because I'm still rebuilding the website. We're rebuilding the packet. We're rebuilding the flip book, right? And so like our goal today, ironically, is to finish this before my 4:30 call with Kay, so I can say it's done, right? But if it wasn't for Kaylin, my assistant, it wouldn't get done. But do you need somebody to go talk to somebody? Do you need somebody to go land your presentation? Do you need somebody to go work your room? I'm your girl. I'm just not the back girl.
Yeah. So, can you share a little bit about what you currently do have set up with Follow Up Boss since we've worked together? What does your workflow look like now in Follow Up Boss?
So our workflow in Follow Up Boss is pretty amazing because I don't even know how it works. It works. So when somebody gets put in there, depending upon what we tag them as, so a lot of the stuff comes in auto. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm going to use a rental as an example because I love my system. But so a rental lead will come in via email from wherever they came from. I will not say that word, but for wherever they came from, they will come in, and based upon Follow Up Boss knows that if a lead comes in from here, to go ahead and tag it, we know it's a rental. It's got a property address in there, put that tag in there. And then for it to be assigned to this person and for this email to go out. And so what the email goes out as is it says to them, oh, great, go see the 3D tour at rentcosmopolitan.com. So that is a GoDaddy page that we built for the rental end of things. And you can go there, you can look at the 3D tour. When you click on the button, it actually is linked to our You Got Listings public facing site. So they see the 3D tour, they see all the details about the property. Now, if they want to make an appointment and they email in from there, it will come back into Follow Up Boss. Follow Up Boss will see their email. And now it might create a different file because it's a different email address, but eventually we catch it up and we merge them. But the next step that it will say to them, are you ready to set up an appointment? And they say, yes, I want to make an appointment. Great. Could you please tell us a little bit more about you? And so it says, please fill out this form. And that is an auto reply that they get. And so they click on that button to fill out the form. And it's a rental. We need to financially qualify these people. Are they the right amount of people? When do they want to move? Are they ready to make a decision? Right. And I always say to people, we schedule showings for people that make X amount of dollars, 3 times the rent, credit, whatever. But you can all apply. We'll send you an application. So if that comes in, so when that comes in, that they filled out the form through Zapier, there is a zap that comes over that the form has been filled out. Here is all the information. So it auto imports into Follow Up Boss. Then it creates a task for Anthony or somebody else in the rental team to now know rental qualified. They need to go check it. Is it a match? And now they need to get back to that person, right? Now, let's say it is a match and they create, most of this stuff, I would tell you the majority of our communication is email and texting, which in the rental business, that's a good thing because now you have a paper trail. But anyways, Follow Up Boss just keeps track of all of this and it's all in one spot. So now he goes and he creates the appointment for them. And the morning of the appointment, they're getting an auto text from Follow Up Boss reminding them that they have an appointment. Well, Anthony's already told them that, when you get that reminder, you have to confirm or else we won't be there, right? So the same thing happens with the buyers. The same thing happens with the sellers. Once we've made those appointments, they're getting those reminders. And because we have that, most agents, they're not confirming their buyer appointments. They're not confirming their listing appointments. Our clients think like we're right on the ball here because they get those, right? But it's all automation.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been using the setup that we provided for you in Follow Up Boss? Do you remember?
I gotta say it's like 5 or 6 years. Elena, you must have that. Like, I'm serious. Like when I bought Follow Up Boss, I think you and I were like in business that day.
Yeah, I think we have been working together for a while. So in terms of the automations we set up for you, have you seen any results with people responding, or are you finding any improved daily workflows with the smart list? Like what sorts of results are you seeing from that aspect?
So we thought, see, a lot of what you put in there, I know that you did a lot, and I know that you did all the smart list and you did all the emails and you did all that. But we take it for granted because it's always been there since day 10, since we bought Follow Up Boss, right? So it's always been our expectation. I get it. I get that it's a strict product, and without any of that, it doesn't work. So what I will tell you is part of the rental flow is the after sales service, right? So they're going to get an email 30 days later. I hope the move worked out well for you. You may want to sign up on your city's town website in order to get their reverse 911s, right? or something like that. They're going to get an email 6 months down the road. There's a lot of great property for sale in the market. Have you considered that your rental payment, that's a mortgage payment these days in Greater Boston, right? Have you explored things? Take a quick peek here. And the link that they're getting is through the Rail Scout site. So if I can get them in there, right? And I've got them in Follow Up Boss, even if they unsubscribe to one, I still got them, right? So now, they're 9 months in. If you want to renew your lease, call your landlord. If not, call us, right? So no matter what they want, we're here for you. We've been there. We've been in the background. We've stayed in touch enough. On the buyers, so in the buyers, as we move them from being an active buyer to being an under agreement buyer, pending an inspection, pending a mortgage, pending upon where they are in the pipeline of the deal card, they're going to get, so when we move them, a couple of things happen. They get an auto email, depending upon how they're tagged as a buyer, a seller, a tenant, they get an auto email. It automatically starts tagging their file, right, with certain tags that we would search by. It puts them into a certain smart list, okay? It puts them, it creates tasks for us, right? So when somebody goes from a lead to marketing development based upon who they are, buyer, seller, landlord, it auto creates a task list, right? And we've got it set up, what tasks belong to Kaylin, what tasks belong to Anthony, what tasks belong to me, right? So as long as we're clearing our task list every day, Elena, you worry about the background and how it all connects. I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Like, it lets us be us. Most agents are not techies. They are people. The best agents in this business, that 8% that lasts more than 2 years, the majority of them are ADD ridden. Like, what shiny thing can I go look at now? Right? The system that you have built, that you've plugged into that for us, it keeps us on task, right? Tell me what I need to do now, and it will get done. I may not be the best person to set up the background. I am definitely the best person to present it.
Kelly, as we wrap up this conversation, I have a question that's a little bit off topic, and you may need to think about this one, but I'd love to hear of one strategy or lesser known tip that you've implemented in your business that's contributed and had an impact on your business in some way, whether it's helped with your lead management. You mentioned that 98, 99% of your business is through repeat referral. Just some tip that you can think of that's contributed in some way to your business growth.
So being able to manage these people. So let's think about my 32 years, okay? And let's think about where we've been. So in 1992, we had MLS books. The agents got together once a month for lunch, and there was a table with feature sheets on it. We didn't even have fax machine use yet because it was too expensive to send a fax. We were printing MLS sheets and we were running them over to actually we were Xeroxing the page in the book, or, if you're a lucky client, we let you borrow the book. We weren't supposed to, but we let you borrow the book. Then from that, we went to printing the MLS sheets. Nobody had a computer. You had to go to the office to use theirs because it was too expensive. Everything was on the phone, right? So to even have a pager was an expense that some agents just couldn't afford. You definitely couldn't afford a cell phone. And then to go from that to, you were excited if you had a client that had a job with a fax machine because you didn't have to go drop the listings off in their mailbox, right? So you could fax them stuff. And then, the internet happens, right? And so now MLS, we were able to log in, we were able to, build email, but, our clients, they existed in our little black box of index cards. right? And that is how we tracked our communication. You had a 1 through 31 system, and whatever day of the month it was, that's who you were calling. And that's if you were very organized. I was kind of
Mm-hmm.
a, I had a steno book. You know what I mean? And that's it, that my task list was my steno book, right? So I would write everything down because again, I was a mom. I had a lot of things to remember. And I'm writing stuff down the steno book, and then I'm crossing them out when they're done. I'm highlighting them when, I know I have to go back and still do them. And then from that steno book, I think about some of the CRMs that I've had through the years. I had a Palm Pilot. Yeah, I think about that Palm Pilot. It really was just a Rolodex that was electronic. It didn't do much for me. From that, I went to the BlackBerry when it wasn't cool to have this big thing hanging off your ear. I think I used Agent something or other, was like a CRM that came on a disc. Gold, what was the name of it? Gold Rush, or it was like stripped down CRMs that you just had to build yourself. Yeah, it didn't work too well for me, did it? And then, for us to be fast forwarding to 2018 and, Follow Up Boss was always that product that I wanted. I just couldn't afford it. You know what I mean? It was so expensive. Even now when I look at how do we scale and, the cost of scaling, but then I look at what you've been able to do to Follow Up Boss to make it work for us. I don't know how I live without that. You put in all those automations, you put in all those auto emails. And then even I think this morning, we have a new update, like you're constantly updating and you're constantly, bringing that forward. And it's not a lot of nickel and diming and stuff, you've signed on and this is the product that we promised you. And, I see you posting in the group and you're taking, what might be one tip and you're implementing. You know what I mean? You're taking all these great tips and bringing them all in and implementing them to make this system literally walk on water.
I appreciate you noticing that. Yeah, always looking out for new ideas, new tips, whether it's from conversations like this or on the Facebook group. There's no shortage of ideas and tips out there. Well, Kelly, thank you for all your insights. It was really cool to hear your story and your journey from 92 to 2024. So yeah, I'm very, very much looking forward to meeting you at Tom Ferry Summit next week and really appreciate your time.